Brown noise has over 100 million views on TikTok. Binaural beats are in every productivity newsletter, and ADHD creators everywhere are saying, "This sound changed my focus." But many of these videos don't tell you how these sounds actually work with the brain. And they work specifically well for ADHD brains in a way they don't work for neurotypical ones. I'm Kit, I'm an ADHD coach at Flown, and I've watched this play out across enough clients to know that the question isn't, does sound affect focus? Of course it does. We want to know which types of sounds work for which types of brains during which types of tasks. Once you understand that, you can start using the right tool for the right moment. By the end of this video, you'll have a science-backed protocol for exactly that, and you'll understand what is actually happening in your brain when you use these sounds. Let's get into it. Before we talk about a single sound, we need to talk about what is actually happening in the ADHD brain. And I want to be upfront, neuroscience is complex and a little hairy, so this is a very simplified look. At the core of ADHD is the dysregulation of two key neurotransmitters, dopamine and norepinephrine. These are the chemicals that govern attention, motivation, and arousal. Put simply, they determine whether your brain decides something is worth engaging with. For many people with ADHD, the brain is running in a state of chronic underarousal. Not exactly tired, more like the brain's activation threshold for sustained focus is set higher than it should be. It's essentially waiting for something urgent enough or interesting enough or novel enough to respond to. There's also a consistent brainwave pattern in ADHD research. People with ADHD tend to show lower beta wave activity. Beta waves sit between 13 and 39 hertz and are associated with active, alert, focused thinking. At the same time, they tend to show higher theta wave activity. Theta sits between 4 and 8 hertz and is associated with mind wandering, daydreaming, and low alertness. So the ADHD brain at rest is running in a frequency range that is closer to a daydream than it is to actually focus. And simply deciding to concentrate does not flip that switch. The neurochemistry has to move first. You can learn more about this phenomenon here. So think of this as an arousal curve. Too little activation and the brain drifts. Too much and it becomes scattered or anxious. The goal is this optimal zone in the middle, alert, engaged, and calm. For many ADHD brains, silence actually makes this harder. Without any input, the under-aroused brain has nothing to push against. It generates its own stimulation, usually in the form of distraction. Pause for a second. If you just heard that and you thought, actually, I do work better in silence, you're not wrong. ADHD is not just one experience. Some brains are under-aroused and crave input. Others are already running super hot and need quiet to settle. And many people move between both of these states depending on the day or the task or where they are in their cycle. Every neurodivergent experience is different, so hold everything we cover today as a starting point for your own brain, not a universal rule. Okay, so under-aroused brain needs stimulation. This is where sound comes in. The scientific model behind why sound helps ADHD brains focus is called stochastic resonance. Stochastic resonance describes what happens when a small amount of background noise is added to a weak signal. It actually makes the signal easier to detect. The noise adds just enough activation to help the brain's detection system pick up what it would otherwise miss. In the ADHD brain, the signal that needs detecting is the task in front of you. The problem is that the brain's arousal system is not generating enough baseline activation to register that task as worth engaging with. The right kind of external sound raises that baseline just enough, but it doesn't override the brain, it just primes it. And this is the reason why so many people with ADHD think better in a coffee shop than they do a silent library. The moderate ambient noise is not distracting them, it is lifting their arousal level into an optimal zone. The silent library, paradoxically, leaves their brain without enough input and it goes looking for its own. Now here's a caveat, and I want to be clear about this because it changes which sounds are right for you in your brain. Stochastic resonance applies to under-aroused brains. If your ADHD presentation tends toward over-arousal, anxiety, sensory sensitivity, predominantly hyperactive or impulsive symptoms, adding more input can actually push you further in the wrong direction. We'll come back to this when we talk about matching sounds to your specific presentation. There are 5 distinct types of sound that researchers have studied for ADHD focus. They each work through different slightly mechanisms, suit different tasks, and have different levels of evidence behind them. We're going to go through all 5, and I'm going to order them from the thinnest amount of evidence to the strongest, so the best finding lands where it deserves to. Isochronic tones. Isochronic tones are real external pulses of sound. They're evenly spaced and rhythmic, like a precise beat switching on and off at a set interval. Unlike binaural beats, which we'll get into shortly, these are heard directly. There's no headphones required. What you hear is what is there in your physical environment. The claimed mechanism is brainwave entrainment, the idea that your brain will synchronize with an external rhythm if it's consistent enough. A 2025 study on sustained attention found that gamma range isochronic tones around 30 to 100 hertz showed the most consistent results for concentration. However, a 2023 review of 14 brainwave entrainment studies found only 5 showed actual evidence that entrainment was occurring at all. One study found that certain isochronic frequencies produce the opposite of the claimed effect. So isochronic tones may work for you. I think they're great. My clients use them all the time. I personally love them. I'll post my favorites in the description. The mechanism here is plausible. The evidence base is just thinner than the marketing suggests. Nature sounds. So nature sounds need a reframe before anything else, because even though most people use them as a focus tool, research suggests they might actually work better as a recovery tool. Here's a concept you need: directed attention. This is the effortful, voluntary concentration you deploy for demanding tasks. Writing, studying, complex problem solving. It's not unlimited, it depletes. And for ADHD brains, the reserve starts smaller and drains faster. Because sustaining focus, that doesn't come automatically, that costs more energy. Attention restoration theory, developed by environmental psychologist Stephen Kaplan in the late 1980s and 1990s, proposes that natural environments, and natural sounds specifically, have a unique ability to restore that depleted directed attention capacity. Not by stimulating the brain, but by giving it something that holds interest effortlessly. Rain, birdsong, running water, these don't demand anything from you. Your brain can rest inside them. Natural landscapes have been shown to reduce cortisol, lower physiological stress markers, and measurably restore directed attention after cognitive fatigue. So when you are 90 minutes into a work session and your brain starts sliding off a task, a 10 to 15 minute nature sound break may restore more focus capacity than trying to push through ever would. Think of it less as wasting time and more like you are refilling your attention and focus tank. So here you may want to try using nature sounds, or preferably a nature environment, between tasks, not during them. Colored noise. Colored noise is the category with the most peer-reviewed research behind it, and the findings are pretty interesting for ADHD specifically. White noise contains every frequency at equal intensity, flat, consistent, broad. The sound equivalent of a blank canvas. Think of a fan, TV with no signal, an air conditioning unit. It can feel harsh to some ears because those higher frequencies are fully present. Pink noise takes white noise and rolls off the higher frequencies slightly, so the lower and mid-range frequencies become more prominent. The result here is warmer and more natural sounding. Think about rain on a roof, rustling leaves, a gentle waterfall. These are naturally pink noise environments. Most people find it easier to sit inside these sounds for long periods of time. Brown noise rolls off the higher frequencies even further, putting most of the energy into the deep low end. It has this rumbling, immersive quality. Think standing near a large waterfall or the low roar of a thunderstorm in the distance. This is the one that went viral on TikTok, with ADHD people describing it as the first time their brain ever felt genuinely quiet. In 2024, researchers at Oregon Health and Science University published a meta-analysis of 13 studies on colored noise and ADHD. White and pink noise showed a small but statistically significant improvement in task performance for ADHD individuals. And here's something really interesting. The same noise had a slightly negative effect for people without ADHD. This may be a compelling piece of evidence that supports the idea that ADHD is a different neurological experience. The under-aroused ADHD brain benefits from the additional input. The neurotypical brain, however, it's already in the optimal arousal zone, it gets pushed slightly over. An important distinction from the research: the colored noise benefit was most pronounced in inattentive type ADHD. Hyperactive and impulsive presentations saw little to no benefit, consistent with the over-arousal caveat from earlier. And white and pink noise help people transition into concentration states more than they sustain concentration itself. So you can kind of think of them as an on-ramp, not a cruise control. All right, now brown noise. Over 100 million TikTok views, thousands of people with ADHD describe it as the first time their brain ever felt quiet. The research? That same 2024 meta-analysis found 0 qualifying peer-reviewed studies on brown noise specifically. And that doesn't mean it doesn't work. It probably just means the conversation and the anecdotal experience is massively ahead of the data. All right, binaural beats. Binaural beats work through a completely different mechanism to everything we have covered so far. Take 2 slightly different tones, and they're delivered separately, one to each ear. Your brain perceives a third tone that does not exist in the audio. It is an auditory illusion your brain constructs. And it requires headphones to work. Without headphones, the 2 tones mix before they reach your ears and the effect does not occur. The theory is that the perceived tone nudges your brainwaves toward the target frequency. And for ADHD specifically, the most relevant frequencies are beta, around 15 to 20 hertz. Remember, these are associated with active focus thinking, and then also gamma at 40 hertz, associated with high-level cognitive processing. Studies have shown that 40 hertz binaural beats appear to increase the release of dopamine and acetylcholine. Remember, these are the 2 neurochemicals most directly implicated in ADHD. Dopamine governs motivation, reward, and goal-directed behavior, and acetylcholine sharpens the brain's ability to select relevant signals and filter out distractions. I do want to be nuanced, though. The neurochemical mechanism is not fully established in peer-reviewed literature. The evidence is promising, and the biological explanation is plausible, but the research is still developing. What does the clinical research say? A randomized controlled trial with adult ADHD patients found significant improvements in subjective study performance in the binaural beats group compared to the placebo. However, and this is the honest part, there were no significant changes in core ADHD symptoms on standardized measures. So binaural beats appear to help you perform better in the moment. They are probably not treating your ADHD at a neurological level. Amplitude-modulated music. This is the one most people have not heard of, and it has the most compelling recent research of all 5 categories. In October 2024, a really neat study by researchers at Northeastern University's Mind Lab tested music that had been specifically engineered with rapid amplitude modulations. Basically, these are just rhythmic pulses embedded into the music at precise frequencies. This wasn't run-of-the-mill background music. They designed music at a structured level to engage attentional networks in the brain. So get this, the fMRI results showed that the amplitude-modulated music produced greater activity in the salience network, the executive control network, and the sensory-motor network compared to both regular music and pink noise. EEG recordings showed the brain synchronizing with the music in real time. The coolest part, participants with higher ADHD symptom scores showed the greatest benefit from beta range modulations. Remember that the beta waves are the brainwave frequencies associated with active, alert, focused thinking. And ADHD brains characteristically show a deficit in beta activity. They run lower beta than neurotypical brains, which is a part of why sustaining focused attention is so hard. So when the music is modulated at beta frequency, it is essentially pulsing at the same rhythm the brain should be running at when focused. So very cool. The brain picks up on that external rhythm and begins to synchronize with it. That synchronization is the entrainment effect showing up on the EEG recordings in the study. This is the science behind tools like Brain FM, music designed at a structural level to bring your beta activity up to where it needs to be. This is the only sound category in the research where there is a direct dose-response relationship with ADHD symptoms. This is the best for high cognitive load tasks, studying, and complex problem solving. All right, so let's put this all together. Before you start any demanding cognitive work, try using 40 Hz binaural beats for just 5 minutes. You're not trying to maintain the effect, you're just priming the neurochemical environment, raising dopamine and acetylcholine before the work begins so you drop into focus faster. Think of it like a warm-up before a run. You would not expect to walk out the door and immediately hit your maximum pace. Focus works the same way. The binaural beats are your warm-up lap. And then you want to match your sound to a task. High cognitive load, so deep writing, complex problem solving, studying, use amplitude-modulated music or 40 Hz binaural beats throughout. Routine and administrative tasks like email, data entry, organizing, use wider pink noise. You need the on-ramp, not the full activation. Between tasks and transitions, use those nature sounds. Active restoration, not stimulation. If your ADHD skews inattentive and under-aroused, start with the colored noise for routine work and amplitude-modulated music for deep work. If your ADHD skews hyperactive or anxious or over-aroused, start with lower intensity. Pink noise and nature sounds before you try gamma binaural beats. The goal is not more input, it is just the right amount of input. Here's how you know if it is working. It's not just, did I focus? How did your body actually feel during the session? Calm and engaged means arousal is moving in the right direction. Activated, irritable, or more scattered means the arousal overshot. You might notice you need different things for different days, and that's okay. That's your nervous system being a nervous system. Sleep, stress, hormones, medication timing, sensory load from earlier in the day, all of it affects your baseline arousal level, which means the sound that moves you into the optimal zone today might not be the same one that gets you there tomorrow. So stay curious rather than conclusive. Notice patterns over time rather than judging individual sessions. Give each sound type at least 3 to 4 sessions before drawing any real conclusion. Your nervous system needs time, and so does your understanding of it. The reason this topic gets so oversimplified online is that these tools do genuinely work. They just work in specific ways for specific brain states, doing specific types of tasks. Brown noise going viral is not wrong. It's actually really helpful for a lot of ADHD brains. What's missing from that conversation is the neuroscience underneath it. The under-arousal model, the beta-theta imbalance, the stochastic resonance mechanism. That explains why it works and helps you figure out whether it will work for your brain specifically. I encourage you to start with the 5-minute binaural beat warm-up tomorrow. Notice what happens, then experiment from there. And if sound is one piece of creating the right conditions for your ADHD brain to focus, other people have another. At Flown, where I work as an ADHD coach, we run virtual co-working sessions built around body doubling. The presence of another person, even silently over a screen, raises the arousal level of an ADHD brain just enough to make focus possible. It works through the same exact principle we covered today. External input, optimal arousal, focus becomes available. There's a link below if you want to try it for free. And if you want to deep dive in any of the 5 categories we covered, drop it in the comments and we will make it. And if this was useful, hit the subscribe button. It would make my dopaminergic system very happy.